Ladies and gentlemen, it's an important social issue. At a time when we are talking about women's rights, there is a debate about men's rights as well. Equal rights for men. Are women misusing their rights, the laws that exist against men? Can men sometimes be caught on the wrong foot? And coming up with a commercial film on that is Bandar, and joining me today on this debate on whether men can really be wronged, something that socially may be difficult to accept, but is a point that is extremely close to the heart of people who worked on this film, Bandar. Joining me tonight in the studios, Bobby Deol. Well, who doesn't know him? Lord Deol is what we all call him. Dar bhi lagta hai, Lord Deol, and every time I call you that, I almost imagine a glass on your head and you breaking into a dance. But Nikhil Dwivedi, producer and actor, working on a subject of this kind. Nikhil, close to your heart?
The script was, the subject was, and the people who got involved eventually became close to my heart.
Also joining me, Deepika Narayan Bharadwaj, director, Ekam Nyay Foundation, feels strongly about issues of these kinds, about men rights. And we have Ruchi Narayan, also a film director, joining us live from Mumbai. Ruchi Narayan, who of course, like most of us, think that women are the wronged party, men, well, not quite. That's the perception. Nikhil, don't frown at me. But the topic. Nikhil, let me begin with you. Why did you think a film of this kind was important at a time when we are still debating and discussing and unraveling the Twisha case in Bhopal, and Giribala Singh, her mother-in-law, the statement she's made, reverberating and extremely obnoxious statements and point of view that she brings to the table. In the middle of that, you bring out a film. Do you think men...
We have been observing too. Very unfortunate. Needs to be investigated. If there is a crime involved over there, people need to be punished. This is not an anti-women film. It's a pro-justice film. We have to understand that nobody is saying please don't believe women when they have been wronged. But you have to believe in justice as well. We want to believe in justice more than we want to believe a particular gender. And that is the hallmark of our constitution, our law. This is where the principle on which our democracy stands. Justice needs to prevail.
Bobby Deol, the role of a man being wronged, it's going to be difficult for people to accept it because it's unconventional. Normally, women are seen as the wronged party. How do you think this film, this debate is important to be held at this moment?
Well, when I do films, usually stories are a reflection of what happens in a society. The story is not created just as a fiction. It is influenced by what happens in the society. And I totally agree with the fact that in our country and in many countries, women go through more suffering than men do. Yeah. And it is still existent, And it's sad that that happens. But then there are men who've been through certain things which was unfair to what happened with them. So it's not that I'm trying to say that women are always wrong or men are always right. It's not like that. I've grown up in an environment where I've seen myself. I mean, I have sisters and I used to always be worried, unki shaadi hogi, kaun se ghar mein jayenge, unke saath kaise honge wahan, uske in-laws. Dar lagta hai. Kyunki we've grown up in a very male chauvinist kind of a world, where men have always been the dominating factor. And luckily for me, I have so many sisters that fear is always there. And I don't take that away from playing this character. This character is not trying to go against that. This character is trying to show that justice has to prevail. Until that is not done properly, there are some people who have not done something will be victims to that. It's not about showing that only men are getting victimized with all this. I don't think that. I think if you really look at the percentage of how many women go through suffering, it's huge. But it's a story, and it's not trying to make a statement of this issue. It's trying to show a story about what is existing, and I believe that when I do work, it's more about doing a character. I mean, I've played negative characters, who have been awful, but I'm playing characters. And as an actor, it's challenging for me as an actor to portray people who I'm not. That doesn't mean I have become them, I just portray it for that moment.
Ruchi Narayan, do you believe that this film somewhere or the other, or just the theme somewhere or the other, might take away from the fight that exists for women? Are laws misused? Yes, maybe true. But at a time, and I'm talking about the point in time where we are standing, where the Twisha case is extremely raw and real in our minds. Where do you think this concept really goes?
Hi everyone, and thank you for having me in this discussion. My heart definitely goes out to anyone who's traumatized or suffering, be it men or women. But as Bobby himself said, the numbers are disproportionate, hugely disproportionate. We are in a country where the reported number of rapes per minute is 18, and we all know that the real number would be far more because women don't report these things. And one of the reasons they don't report is because society itself, their first reaction, because we are in a patriarchal society, the first reaction is, do you believe her? So you're already coming at it with disbelief in what the woman says. What is the proof? Do you think he could do this? Why would she say that? So when we already have this embedded in everyone in society. So to make a film about it from a particular case or a number of cases where men are falsely accused, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but the percentage is very small. And the fact is that it's not just that films are influenced by life. Films, we know, influence society. And when films are made or when they're released, say at this time, I mean, they do influence and prompt a discussion about that particular case. And especially, I'm sure the film, from the trailer, it looks extremely well made. I'm sure it's extremely well performed. So when it elicits that kind of, even empathy, it kind of tilts the conversation and takes away from the context that we are living in, which is the reality.
Absolutely fair point. And Deepika, that's the point I want to say. In any case in our society, it's so patriarchal, so male dominated. Nobody wants to believe the woman. For a woman to actually come out and admit that she's been wronged, whether it is a rape, whether it is a Me Too movement, it's taken people years to come out and express. And at the moment, there is this live conversation that is going on about Twisha, and I keep coming back to it because it is a case. It's not a case, it's a life. It's a life. Twisha was a live woman, young, who had to live life, experience so many things, and look at what has come out into the public domain. I'm not getting into who's wrong, who's right, but in the public domain, that she was being questioned about her promiscuity, she was being questioned about whether the child she was carrying was her own, and the questions were coming from the mother-in-law. Even after her death, there was no dignity in death. The mother-in-law gave interviews to every news channels saying that मेरी बेटी पेड़ों को पानी नहीं देती थी, खाना नहीं बनाती थी. You know, in that conversation, if it takes away from the fight of even one woman a concept that the men have been wrong, do you think it's fair? I'm asking you that out there.
Navika, first of all, I would like to actually thank the entire team of Bandar to actually be making this film in the first place, because I strongly believe justice needs to be there for everyone and it cannot be a factor of gender. That's what my work has focused on for the last 14 years. It is extremely, extremely tough to even speak up for men. Very tough. For the last so many years, Navika, half of the reported rape cases in India, almost half, are that of rape on false promise of marriage. And we see these cases every single day. They have been in relationship for the longest of time, and just because the marriage did not happen, it is reported as rape. Now imagine this scenario where a woman takes a stand, the man she has been dating, she does not want to get married to him for XYZ reasons. Imagine if we say that now you have committed rape because you're not marrying this man. That does not happen.
But it may be a breach of promise?
It may be or maybe not a breach of promise, but what is the immediate aftermath? The man is jailed. These men who are lodged in jail on the charges of rape, and I remember the statement which has come out in the trailer also, there's one guy who is telling the character of Bobby that say that you have come for murder, but don't say you have come for rape. I recently met a man who was sodomized inside the jail. People who come on charges of rape or POXO charges, no matter how innocent they are treated the worst inside our jails. If there's an innocent life, why should we not talk about this, Navika? And you know, it is very sad that all the time, you know, there's such brushing aside of slightest conversation when we talk about men. This is Sham Ruhil, poured with 5 liters of acid just next door Sonipat, not very far away from Delhi. Just because he said no to a woman he had met a couple of months ago for marriage. 5 liters of acid on his entire body. He was a young boy of 21 years. Nobody spoke about this life. This is Surat Saini, Delhi case. His wife has filed multiple rape cases, married multiple men. He went to the police, said that his wife is threatening him of killing him. This woman pours hot boiling water on him mixed with chili. Nobody in the media reported it.
There are sad stories about men who have been through so much, which should be spoken about. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be films made about women being treated badly. In percentage-wise, yes, it might be more, but that 1% or 2% of men who get into the situation where they have done nothing wrong and they get punished for that.
And Nikhil, that's where I come into this. Is the process the punishment? Because if you begin from the premise of a rape allegation, jail immediately, and that process probably is the punishment. Is that why you're saying there should be?
It definitely is. Also, you know, it's a double-edged sword. For the right reasons, a sexual crime against women is perceived to be in the lowest of hierarchy, which is the good thing. But also, when an innocent man is accused of it, he bears the brunt of it without actually having done anything, because the society has judged him. He's thrown out of a job. Ruchi is asking the right questions. Is the process okay, and where is the conviction rate? But that shouldn't stop artists of creating something that is worth a discussion.
The conviction rates could also be lower because the process of law in our country does take time. But that we are debating this topic, I don't know about the commercial success, Nikhil. That's a rider I will always put, because traditional, conventional stories, easier to accept in the human mind, whether a breakaway film of this nature, but it brings to the table a debate. That is something that I will agree with you. And Bobby, wronged man lagte nahi ho. with all of that. But the trailer and you being put in jail, maybe it will convince some people that it's time to debate the issue. I don't know what really happens as far as the commercial success goes, but when it is Deepika and Ruchi, it's statistics versus statistics. I would just stop to say this: one case of injustice is one too many. If it is happening, do we need to debate it as a society? Well, you, the viewer, be the judge. Thank you very much to my guests, Bobby, Nikhil, Deepika and Ruchi, for joining me on the Newshour tonight. Thank you very much, viewers. Good night, be safe. I'll be back tomorrow.